Hi, Elizabeth Adams here to tell you about the new and upcoming releases from the authors at Austen Variations. First up, from our newest member, Christina Morland, is The Year in Between, which is a Sense and Sensibility variation. So this book takes place in that last chapter of the book where they kind of skip a year and we see Eleanor and Edward Ferris's first year of marriage, and I think kind of more importantly, we see Marianne getting over Willoughby, moving on, growing up a bit, and falling in love with Colonel Brandon. I mean, I didn't need a year, but maybe some people do. So, anyway, next is Dangerous Magic from Monica Fairview. This is a Pride and Prejudice paranormal story or magical story. So, basically, Darcy is like super powerful magic guy. Elizabeth has magic, but she is living kind of off the grid in Hertfordshire and isn't really like super formally trained. So Darcy's particular kind of magic requires a partner. I don't really understand the intricacies of that, but I also just totally don't care because I loved it. So in the very beginning of the book, Darcy needs partner magic. Nobody else is suitable to be his partner. So, of course, obviously, it's going to be Elizabeth because why wouldn't it be? So, they have to get married because it would be inappropriate for magical men and women to be spending all this time alone together, would ruin her reputation, etc. So, in the very beginning of the book, these two people who don't even know each other are suddenly engaged and now they're getting married and they're also work partners. But there are all these other forces that are trying to cause problems. So obviously it's the Napoleonic War as per usual. And now that war is being fought with the addition of magic. So that adds all this extra stress. And if you guys have watched me before, you know that I'm not a big paranormal reader. The only time I really ever read it is with Jaff because I don't know, for whatever reason, I find it really enjoyable. But I loved this book. I spent an entire Saturday doing nothing but reading this book, which I highly recommend doing, just wasting your weekends with books. It's amazing. And sending Monica messages saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. So, word on the street is this is part of a series, but as far as I know, the next few books haven't been written yet. But maybe if you give Monica a little nudge, nudge, she might like move a little quicker on that. We'll see. So then, The Recovery of Fitzwilliam Darcy by Lucy Marin. As per usual with Lucy's books, this is juicy. All her books are so juicy. So lots of plot, lots of characters, lots of really in depth, like, why? So I felt this book was kind of angsty. I would put it kind of medium level angst because it is angsty in the sense that Fitzwilliam Darcy has been taken from his parents as a child and somehow, I won't ruin all the details for you, gets raised by the Lucases. So he's actually raised as Charlotte Lucas's brother, which, by the way, I am so here for that. Charlotte and Darcy as siblings, sign me up. Like, I absolutely love that relationship. But he and Elizabeth grow up together and obviously like friends and then more than friends. And then he finds out that he's like actually a Darcy and not a Lucas. And it's a lot of drama and a lot of like figuring out who you are and where you belong and all of that jazz. But it does have a happy ending. So, as typical with Lucy's books, it's very juicy. So, if you're looking for something you could really sink your teeth into, I'm going to recommend you go with this one if you're looking for something you can really grab onto. Next up is book 7 in Maria Grace's Dragons series, Dragons Beyond the Pale. So I just finished this book a couple of days ago, and it kind of had me like stressing for a minute there when I was trying to figure out if everything was going to work out okay. So in this one, there are so many things that happen. I'm afraid I'm going to just give you massive spoilers if I tell you too much. But basically, there are smugglers, there is a war, there are dragons acting like jerk wagons, and there's a whole new species of dragon that people didn't even really know existed. There's a lot of kind of underground black market weirdness going on, and everybody ends up in a lot of trouble. So Darcy's insubordinate, which I am always here for, by the way. Captain Wentworth and Darcy work together. Loved that. Anne Elliot really comes into her own, which is fantastic. Lydia's like mostly better behaved, which desperately is needed in like every book. But anyway, so I there's not much I can say without giving it away, and I don't want to give you spoilers, but it's very adventure centered. It's not very much focused on the relationship, but more focused on all the crazy things that are happening. So it is a very satisfying next book for the entire series, and this is book 7. I don't know whether or not she's planning to keep going with the series, but I think that if we tell her how much we like it, maybe she will. Hint, hint. So next is from me, Elizabeth Adams, How to Fall in Love with the Man You Thought You Hated. So this is a sort of palate cleanser from 2020 because this last year has just been like the pits for everybody. So I wanted to write something light and fun, and last spring I got this idea and just ran with it. So basically, Colonel Fitzwilliam is going on his walk at Rosings like he does in the original book, and he runs into Elizabeth, and she accidentally mentions Wickham. So instead of talking about how Darcy broke up Jane and Bingley, he tells her that Wickham is a complete monster, etc., etc. Elizabeth has a complete meltdown, as one would do. She and Colonel Fitzwilliam have a very sibling-esque relationship, which is fun. And then everything kind of changes from there. So she melts down with Colonel Fitzwilliam. Then she and Charlotte have like a come to Jesus conversation. Then Darcy shows up to do his normal Hunsford proposal thing. And there's Elizabeth, a complete wreck, but for completely different reasons than otherwise. And the story progresses from there. So this is very much a courtship story. It's fluffy without being sickly sweet because I can't do that. But so it's just banter and flirtation and lots of fun. That's how I would classify it. It's very fun. That was the whole point of the story, and that's what I'm getting so far from everybody. And no angst for the sake of angst. That's the other thing I've been hearing from reviewers, is that everybody talks like grown-ups. So maybe I'm growing up, and that's why my characters are starting to do that more, because I don't know that I did that on purpose. But anyway, so next is Fitzwilliam Darcy in his own words from Shannon Winslow. So obviously this is a P&P variation. So this is a prequel and then the P&P story, all from the point of view of Fitzwilliam Darcy. Obviously it's called In His Own Words. So if you've ever wondered what he was thinking, what his point of view is on all of this stuff that's happening, both in canon and then of course I find most interesting beforehand, this is the book for you. So if you want to know about his life and his personal demons and all his junk, here's your story. Then next, upcoming, on May 27th, Jennifer Altman will be releasing her much awaited second book called Faults of Understanding. So this one is a doozy. I don't know Jennifer well enough to know if this is her regular style, but if this is her regular style, write faster so we can have more like this. So this book, basically what happens is Darcy, in a fit of impetuousness, I can only assume is inspired by being around Bingley so much, proposes to Elizabeth when they're still at Netherfield. Elizabeth, in a fit of irritation with life, accepts. So it's not so much a forced marriage scenario because nobody forced anybody into it, but it is an early marriage scenario. So he has not had his Hunsfordizing, as we like to call it. He hasn't gone through all of that drama. She has not had her whole freak out and learn to know herself moment that she gets from the letter. So they're both very much themselves. They're still stubborn. They're still having issues. And to make everything just so much worse, Darcy overhears a conversation between Elizabeth and her sister and realizes that she kind of hates him. You can read a snippet of this on the website. So if you go to Jane Austen Variations and click on Jennifer Altman, you'll be able to see her posts, and she's posted several snippets of the story. So I would recommend that. But I'm really looking forward to this one coming out. It's available on Kindle. You can pre-order it there. And again, that's Faults of Understanding, coming out May 27th on pre-order now. Then last, but certainly not least, coming in June from LL Diamond is Agony and Hope. So this is kind of a mysterious love story. So without giving anything away, basically what happens is Lydia runs off and elopes with Wickham because she can't just help herself, the little monster. And when Mr. Bennet finds out about it, he has an attack of nerves and dies. So Elizabeth and Jane end up going AWOL. Nobody knows what's happened there and what's up with them. Darcy thinks that Elizabeth is dead, and so he's losing his mind and freaking out. And of course, like, we know she's not dead because Elizabeth's never died. Like, anyway, I wish, right? Well, actually, no, I don't. Never mind. Scratch that. So, anyway, Darcy's freaking out. Elizabeth's on the lam. Everything is topsy turvy, and then we're going to have to see them come together and him find her, convince her, marry her, etc. So that's what's going on with that one. And again, that one's coming in June. Then we have a bunch of audiobooks coming out. So recently released Lucy Marin's The Recovery of Fitzwilliam Darcy. That audiobook just came out. Jack Caldwell's Persuaded to Sail is now out on audio, as well as Abigail Reynolds' The Price of Pride, now available on audio everywhere you get your audiobooks. My book, Sons of Pemberley, is available in audio, and then my book, How to Fall in Love with a Man You Thought You Hated, will be out any day now in audio. Nicole Clarkston's A Fine Mind is now available, and Shannon Winslow's Prayer and Praise Jane Austen devotional is available in audio. So, thank you for watching. I'm Elizabeth Adams. This has been new and upcoming releases for Jane Austen Variations, and I'll see you next time.